Hello everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to create a newspaper effect, and this might be particularly useful for people who don't have access to After Effects. To begin with, I've stacked two clips on top of each other in the timeline, and what I need to do is to resize this clip here so that it fits into the window of the newspaper clip behind it. So with the top clip selected, I'm going to use resize and crop in order to fit it into that window, a combination of the two. To make things a bit easier to work with, I think I'm going to go and change the opacity of the top clip so that I can use the clip underneath as a reference when it comes to cropping and resizing and repositioning. So let's go and resize. First of all, I think I'll just go straight to the inspector and do that. That should be a pretty good size to start with. Let's go and place that there, and now I think I'll use a combination of cropping top, bottom, left and right to get those edges looking pretty good. Let's go and bring down the top a touch, and let's work on the bottom. Let's select done and then go back to the inspector and take our opacity all the way up to the top again. To make the effect look more interesting, I think I'll remove the color across a period of time and then add a freeze frame. This is how we go about doing that. First of all, find the place on the timeline where you'd like to start removing the color. And then using the razor blade tool, shortcut B, cut the clip into two at that point and press A to get back to the normal tool. With the second half of the clip selected, I'm going to go to the color correction wheel, go straight to saturation and pull all of the saturation down for the second half of the clip. In order to make this transition over a period of time, the next thing I'm going to do is add a transition at the cut point, and I do that with simple Command T, which would add a dissolve, and if I play that, it will slowly dissolve from color to black and white. Perhaps we'd like to extend that duration. Okay, and lastly we need to just add the freeze frame. First I'll deselect the transition in the timeline by clicking in the gray area, and then I'll place my playhead at the point where I want to add the freeze frame. Let's leave it right there, and using the keyboard shortcut Option F, we'll add a freeze frame right at that point. Final Cut Pro adds a default duration freeze frame of 4 seconds. So what we want to do is just go to the end of that freeze frame, trim it back to the end of the newspaper clipping underneath, and then just delete the moving video afterwards. To round the effect off, I'd like to zoom in to the newspaper and the music video clip at the same time. And the best way to do that is to combine the two clips on the timeline into a single clip or a compound clip. For those of you who are familiar with Avid Media Composer and legacy versions of Final Cut Pro, this process was called nesting. In Final Cut Pro we call it compound clips, and it basically comes down to the same thing. What I'm going to do is select all of the clips in the timeline, then right click on one of them and select New Compound Clip. Final Cut Pro prompts us to give the compound clip a name. Let's go with the name it's given us. In the timeline, both clips have been condensed into a single clip, and the little icon on the top left of the clip denotes that this is a compound clip. One of the advantages of compound clips is that if you double click on the clip, you have access to the original clips that made up that compound clip, and you can now go and make any changes that you feel you need to make. And the timeline will automatically reflect any adjustments that you've made. On now to adding a zoom to a combination of these two clips. What I'm going to do, I think, is just go and add a effect directly from the transform button. If we go straight down to crop, one of the options that we have is the Ken Burns effect, which effectively allows you to select the start point and the end point of your clip as it zooms in or out over the duration of the clip. So let's go and zoom in. We'll start off with a nice large area. Let's start off like something like that. And then we'll take the end point and we'll zoom that into that area there. No more work is required. We'll just play the result, and if we're happy, we'll select done.
Ladies and gentlemen, Zach Wild.
If you require more complex effects, then keyframes would be required, but in some instances, this is all that's required for a really great result.